Look around you. The universe is not in a hurry, so why are you? You were born into this world as a wave rising from the ocean, unique yet inseparable from the whole, but somewhere along the way society told you that you must chase, achieve, struggle. You must become something. And so the grand cosmic dance was replaced by a race to be richer, smarter, stronger, better. But I ask you, where is it all leading? Look around you. The universe is not in a hurry, so why are you? You were born into this world as a wave rising from the ocean, unique yet inseparable from the whole. But somewhere along the way society told you that you must chase, achieve, struggle. You must become something, and so the grand cosmic dance was replaced by a race to be richer, smarter, stronger, better. But I ask you, where is it all leading? What is it that you are truly running toward? Because every time you reach what you thought would fulfill you, the finish line moves again. You have been conditioned to believe that happiness, success, and peace are things you must earn, that they are rewards waiting at the end of some long and difficult journey. But that is an illusion. You do not need to become anything to be complete. You are already whole. Right now, in this very moment, you are enough. Just as the trees do not rush to grow, just as the rivers do not struggle to flow, you too are part of this great unfolding. And yet, look at yourself. So anxious, so afraid that you are missing something. But what if I told you that you lack nothing at all? You fear the future because you believe it is something separate from you. You cling to the past as if it defines you, but neither the past nor the future truly exist. There is only now, and in this now there is peace, if only you choose to see it. You see, your mind is like the sky, vast and open, but filled with clouds of thoughts, worries, and desires. And yet, just beyond those clouds, the sky remains untouched, infinite and still. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. Your fears, your struggles, your doubts, these are but passing storms, momentary ripples in the ocean of your being. They come, they go, but they do not define you. So let go. Let go of this exhausting need to prove yourself. Let go of the illusion that happiness is somewhere else, waiting for you in some future you have not yet reached. It is already here, hidden in the stillness between your thoughts, in the laughter of a child, in the wind dancing through the trees, in the simple act of breathing. Life is not something that will happen someday. It is happening now. And yet most people are so caught up in the pursuit of something greater that they forget to notice the beauty that is already present. They forget that every moment is sacred, that every breath is a miracle. You do not need to struggle to find peace. You only need to stop resisting the moment you are in. Because life is not a war to be won. It is a song to be sung, a dance to be danced. And you, my friend, are part of this magnificent play. So stop waiting, stop worrying, stop fearing, and start living. Because there is nothing to chase. There is only now. And now is perfect. You fear the future because you believe it is something separate from you. You imagine it as a distant place, a destination you must struggle toward, filled with uncertainty and the unknown. But what is the future, really? It is nothing more than a thought in your mind, a projection of possibilities that may never come to pass. And yet how much of your life is spent worrying about a future that doesn't even exist? How often do you sacrifice the present moment in an attempt to control what is yet to come? But the truth is, you can never truly control the future, just as you cannot hold on to the past. And yet we cling to the past as if it defines us. We carry our regrets, our failures, our wounds, and let them shape our identity. We replay old mistakes, relive painful memories, and hold on to old versions of ourselves as if we are bound to them forever. But just as the river never flows backward, neither does life. The past is gone. It exists only in your mind, only in the stories you tell yourself. The person you were yesterday is not the person you are today. Every moment you are new. Every breath is a chance to let go, So why hold on to the weight of what no longer exists? The mind is a trickster, always pulling you away from the only thing that is real, this moment. It tells you that happiness is just beyond your reach, that once you solve all your problems, then you will finally be at peace. But the mind will always create new problems. It will always find something to fix, something to chase, something to fear. It is a cycle with no end. And yet, outside of the mind, beyond the endless noise of thoughts, there is a quiet space, a space where peace is not something to be achieved, but something that has always been here, waiting for you to notice. When you truly see this, when you stop believing the illusion that your mind creates, you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches them. Just as the sky is untouched by the passing clouds, you are untouched by the worries, fears, and stories that pass through your mind. You are not your problems. You are not your fears. You are not your past. You are something deeper, something vast and infinite. And when you understand this, you are free. So let life flow. Stop resisting. Stop fighting against what is. The river does not struggle to reach the ocean. The tree does not worry about how tall it will grow. Everything in nature moves with the rhythm of life, without effort, without resistance. And so can you. But only if you let go, only if you surrender to the present moment, to the truth that everything you seek is already here. Because life is not waiting for you somewhere else. It is not in the future, it is not in the past, it is now. And now is enough. Your fears, your struggles, your doubts, these are but passing storms, momentary ripples in the ocean of your being. They come and they go like the wind moving through the trees, like the waves rising and falling. And yet you spend so much time identifying with these temporary disturbances, believing that they define you, but you are not the storm, you are the sky that holds it. You are not the wave, you are the ocean itself, vast, deep, unshaken. But you have been taught otherwise. You have been conditioned to believe that you are your worries, your failures, your struggles, that if you are feeling lost, then you must be lost, that if you have made mistakes, then you are somehow broken. But what if none of that was true? What if, beneath all the noise, all the fears, all the self-doubt, you were already whole? You see, the only thing keeping you from seeing this truth is your attachment to the stories your mind tells you. The story that says you must become something, achieve something, prove something in order to be worthy. But worthy of what? You are born worthy. You are born complete. The tree does not ask if it is worthy to grow. The river does not question whether it deserves to flow. They simply exist, without hesitation, without doubt. And yet you hesitate, you doubt yourself, you question your own existence, as if you are separate from life itself. But you are not separate. You are part of the same force that moves the stars, that spins the planets, that brings the tides in and out. And when you remember this, you remember that there is nothing to fear, that all of life is unfolding exactly as it should. But the mind will resist this truth. It will try to pull you back into its endless game of control, of planning, of worrying. It will tell you that surrendering means giving up, that letting go means losing something, but in reality, surrendering is not weakness. Letting go is not defeat. It is freedom. Freedom from the illusion that you must control everything, that you must hold everything together. Because life does not need to be controlled. It only needs to be lived. And so stop fighting the current. Stop believing that you must struggle in order to be happy. Happiness is not something to be earned. It is not waiting for you at the end of some long journey. It is already here, hidden in the spaces between your thoughts, in the quiet moments when you stop trying to be something other than what you are. Right now, in this very moment, everything is exactly as it should be. You are exactly as you should be. There is nowhere to go, nothing to chase, nothing to prove. There is only now. And now is enough. You have spent so much of your life searching for meaning, for purpose, for some sense of certainty in an ever-changing world. You have been told that if you just work harder, strive more, become better, then one day you will finally feel at peace. But have you noticed? Every time you reach what you thought would complete you, the satisfaction is fleeting. The mind immediately moves the goalpost, whispering, "What's next?" And so you continue the chase, running toward a future that never arrives. But what if the thing you are searching for has been here all along? What if the peace, the happiness, the fulfillment you seek is not something out there in the distance, but something within you, something that has never left? You see, the greatest illusion is that happiness is conditional, that it depends on circumstances aligning just right. But life has never been about waiting for the perfect conditions. It has never been about reaching some final destination where everything is complete, where all problems disappear. Life is happening now. It has always been happening now. And the only thing keeping you from seeing it is the belief that something is missing. The mind loves to tell you that you are incomplete, that you need more success, more validation, more security. But look at nature. The bird does not wake up wondering if it is good enough to fly. The tree does not hesitate before growing toward the sun. They simply exist, fully embracing their nature, without doubt, without fear. And yet you hesitate, you resist, you hold yourself back because you have been conditioned to believe that you are not enough as you are. But this is just a story that has been repeated so many times that you have come to believe it. But here is the truth. You are not broken. You do not need fixing. You are already whole. You do not need permission to be at peace, to be joyful, to embrace this moment exactly as it is. The only thing standing in your way is the illusion that you must wait for some future moment to allow yourself to be free. But freedom is not found in the future. It is found in surrendering to the now, in realizing that you are not your worries, not your fears, not the ever-changing thoughts in your mind. You are the awareness beneath it all, the stillness that remains when everything else fades. So let go of the chase. Let go of the idea that your life is a problem to be solved. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing missing. The only thing that has ever been missing is your recognition of what has always been here. Right here, in this moment, life is happening, and you are part of it. Not separate, not lacking, not incomplete. Just as the ocean does not question its waves, just as the sun does not doubt its light, you do not need to question your place in this existence. You belong. You always have. There is nothing more you need to become. There is only now. And now is enough. Life as it is not a problem to be solved. It is not a puzzle that needs to be pieced together perfectly before you can be content. For so long you have been taught to view life through the lens of achievement, as if happiness and fulfillment are rewards earned through effort, struggle, and sacrifice. And yet, look at the world around you. The trees do not strain to grow taller, nor do the rivers fight to flow towards the sea. The mountains do not compete to touch the sky, nor do the stars vie for attention. They simply are, existing in harmony with the natural flow of life. And yet, you have been taught to view your own existence as a race, a competition, a constant striving towards something that seems just out of reach. But what if the very notion of striving is the thing that holds you back? What if instead of pushing forward, you simply stopped and allowed life to unfold? What if you stopped resisting and started accepting? The mind tells you that you need to do more, be more, achieve more in order to be happy. It tells you that you must be constantly busy, constantly moving towards some goal in the future. But what if the most profound thing you could do was to simply stop running, to pause, to breathe, and to realize that you are already exactly where you need to be? The mind thrives on urgency. It wants to control everything, to predict every outcome, to hold tight to the illusion of security. It creates fear, anxiety, and stress as it desperately tries to manipulate the future. But what if the future is not something you need to control? What if it is something you only need to trust? You see, life is always unfolding in its own perfect rhythm, and it does not need your interference. It is a dance that has been going on for billions of years, a dance that you are already part of. The more you try to control it, the more you will feel disconnected from it. The more you try to force life into your own narrow vision, the more you will miss the vastness of what is already here. You are already enough. There is no future version of you that will be more worthy than you are right now. There is no destination that will bring you the peace and fulfillment you seek. The peace is already here, hidden beneath the layers of thoughts and stories you tell yourself. The fulfillment is already present, waiting for you to realize that it was never something to be earned. It is simply a recognition of the truth of your being, the truth that you are part of something far greater than you can imagine, a vast interconnected web of existence that is always flowing, always evolving. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to struggle against it. You only need to surrender to it, to trust that life is guiding you exactly where you need to go. You see, your mind wants to tell you that you are not enough, that you must become something more, do something more in order to be worthy of love, peace, or success. But this is a lie. The truth is that you are already whole. You are already worthy. And when you realize this, when you stop waiting for the future to give you permission to live, you will find that life becomes a much easier, much more joyful journey. The key is not to wait for the perfect moment to arrive. The key is to realize that the perfect moment is already here, right now. And when you embrace it fully, without resistance, you will find that the peace and fulfillment you have been searching for were always within you. So stop waiting for the perfect conditions, the perfect time, the perfect you. There is no such thing. The only thing that is real is this moment, and in this moment everything you need is already here. You are already enough. Life is already unfolding as it should, and all you need to do is to let go of the need to control it, to let go of the illusion that happiness is somewhere else, waiting for you in some future moment. It is already here, right now, and that is all you need. You see, most people spend their lives desperately clinging to groups, relationships, and identities, fearing that without them they are nothing. But here's the paradox. What if being surrounded by others who do not truly see you, who do not cherish your presence, is the loneliest place of all? We have been conditioned to believe that solitude is something to be avoided, that being alone is a sign of failure. But what if solitude is not isolation, but liberation? What if walking alone is not a loss, but the beginning of truly finding yourself? Because in life you must ask, is it better to be alone and at peace, or surrounded by those who make you feel invisible? You see, most people spend their lives desperately clinging to groups, relationships, and identities, fearing that without them they are nothing. But here's the paradox. What if being surrounded by others who do not truly see you, who do not cherish your presence, is the loneliest place of all? We have been conditioned to believe that solitude is something to be avoided, that being alone is a sign of failure. But what if solitude is not isolation, but liberation? What if walking alone is not a loss, but the beginning of truly finding yourself? Because in life you must ask, is it better to be alone and at peace, or surrounded by those who make you feel invisible? Most people never ask themselves this question. They drift through life as if on a great ocean, clinging to the nearest piece of driftwood, afraid to be cast out into the open water. They fear the silence of their own company, not realizing that within that silence lies something profound. Clarity. And clarity is a dangerous thing because it reveals truths we would rather not face. The truth that some people do not value us, not because we lack worth, but because they cannot see beyond their own reflection. They treat others as extensions of their own needs, their own desires, their own insecurities. The tragedy is not in being alone. The tragedy is in staying where you are not valued, where your presence is tolerated but not cherished, where your absence is barely noticed. And yet so many remain in these spaces, convincing themselves that it is better to be among the indifferent than to stand in the vastness of solitude. But why? Why do we fear being alone so much? Because we have been taught that our worth is measured by the number of people who surround us. We are told that to be alone is to be lacking, when in reality it is often the first step toward true abundance. Consider a tree in the forest. It does not cling to the other trees in fear of standing alone. It grows where it is planted, reaching toward the sky, finding strength in its own roots. It does not beg for the approval of the surrounding trees. It simply exists in its own truth. And yet, we humans twist ourselves into shapes that please others, shrinking ourselves so that we fit into spaces never meant for us. We sacrifice authenticity for acceptance, as if being accepted by those who do not truly see us is a victory rather than a slow erosion of the soul. There is a great misunderstanding about loneliness. We believe it comes from being alone, but in truth it comes from being unseen, unheard, unappreciated. You could be in a room full of people and still feel utterly alone if those people do not value you. And so the question is not whether you are alone, but whether you are at peace. Because the moment you realize that being alone does not mean being without worth, the entire world shifts. You stop grasping for validation. You stop fearing the silence. You begin to hear your own voice, unfiltered by the noise of those who never truly cared. This is where freedom begins. Not in the company of those who tolerate you, but in the quiet recognition of your own intrinsic value. When you stand alone, you are no longer bound by the expectations of those who never truly valued you to begin with. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth to those who refuse to see it. Instead, you walk away, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your value is not something to be negotiated. And something remarkable happens when you do this. When you choose yourself, when you stop begging for scraps of love, attention, and validation, you begin to attract people who see you as you are. Not as a convenience, not as a backup plan, not as an afterthought, but as a person of depth, of substance, of meaning. This is the paradox of solitude. When you embrace it, you are never truly alone. Because in that space you finally make room for what is real, for what is true. So do not fear standing alone. Fear instead the slow death of staying where you are not valued. Fear the weight of being surrounded by those who do not see you. Fear the silence that exists between you and those who pretend to care. And when you finally walk away from all of that, you will realize something extraordinary. The peace of solitude is far greater than the pain of being unseen. And in that peace, you will find yourself. Leaving behind those who do not value you is not an act of loneliness, but an act of self-respect. And yet, so many hesitate at the threshold of this choice, torn between the fear of solitude and the slow, quiet suffering of staying in places where they are not appreciated. But the truth is, when you stay in spaces that drain you, you are not keeping yourself company. You are keeping yourself imprisoned. Imprisoned. Most people do not recognize how heavy it is to be surrounded by the wrong people until they finally walk away. They carry the weight of forced conversations, of unreciprocated effort, of being the one who always reaches out first. It is a burden that is not physical but spiritual, a slow depletion of one's energy, a gradual erosion of the soul. And they endure it, believing that enduring is somehow noble, that staying is a sign of strength. But real strength is not in holding on. Real strength is in knowing when to let go. We have been taught to believe that relationships, whether friendships, family, or romantic ties, must be preserved at all costs. That walking away is an act of selfishness rather than self-preservation. But what is truly selfish is expecting someone to remain in a space where they are not valued, where their kindness is taken for granted, where their presence is met with indifference. Staying in such places does not make you noble, it makes you invisible. It teaches others that they can have you without ever needing to appreciate you. To walk away is not to abandon others, but to refuse to abandon yourself. It is to recognize that your energy, your time, your love are not infinite resources to be squandered on those who do not see their worth. Imagine carrying a cup of water through a desert, offering it to those who never drink, who never even acknowledge the gift, and yet you continue, pouring yourself out until nothing remains. What if, instead, you chose to keep that water for yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of wisdom? Because you know that you too need nourishment, and that only when your cup is full can you offer something truly meaningful to the world. There is a strange thing that happens when you walk away from those who do not value you. At first there is fear. Fear of solitude, fear of regret, fear that perhaps you were the one who needed to change. But then there is clarity. You begin to see the ways in which you were dimming your own light to make others comfortable. You begin to recognize that love, real love, is never something you should have to beg for. And most importantly, you begin to understand that the people who truly belong in your life will never make you feel as though you have to fight for a place in theirs. People fear solitude because they misunderstand it. They equate being alone with being unloved, when in truth it is often the first step toward discovering what love truly is. Love is not about clinging to those who treat you as an afterthought. Love is not about proving your worth to those who refuse to see it. Love, real love, begins with yourself, with the decision to no longer settle for less than what you know you deserve. And something remarkable happens when you make that decision. When you choose to walk alone rather than walk with those who do not value you, you create space. Space for new people, new experiences, new energies that align with your true self. The absence of false connections makes room for real ones. The silence left behind by those who never truly cared is soon filled with the voices of those who do. Walking away does not mean closing your heart. It does not mean shutting yourself off from the world. It simply means choosing to no longer waste your light in places that were never meant to hold it. And when you make that choice, you are not just standing alone, you are standing in your power. Being alone is often mistaken for weakness, yet it is in solitude that we find our truest selves and greatest insights. Society conditions us to believe that our worth is reflected in the company we keep, that to be surrounded by others is to be successful, and to stand alone is to be failing in some way. But what if the opposite is true? What if the moments of solitude, the moments when we step away from those who do not value us, are actually the moments when we become the most powerful? Think about the great minds, the great thinkers, the visionaries who shaped the world. They were not those who blended in, who sought validation from the crowd, who remained where they were tolerated rather than celebrated. No, they were the ones who dared to step away, who found strength in their solitude, who learned that only in silence can one truly hear the depths of their own mind. Because there is a deep, unshakable power in standing alone, not in defiance, not in anger, but in self-assurance. Most people live their lives seeking connection at any cost. They tolerate being unappreciated because they fear the quiet of their own company. They accept lukewarm relationships because they believe that anything is better than nothing. And so they remain in places that do not nourish them, pouring themselves out for people who do not care if they stay or go. They do this not because they are weak, but because they have been conditioned to believe that solitude is a punishment rather than an opportunity. But solitude is not a curse. It is a gift, a rare and sacred space where we can truly meet ourselves. When we stop seeking validation from others, when we step away from those who do not value us, we begin to understand who we really are. We are no longer performing, no longer twisting ourselves to fit into spaces that were never meant for us. We are free to explore our own thoughts, free to pursue what truly brings us joy, free to exist without the burden of trying to be what others expect us to be. There is a misconception that solitude and loneliness are the same, but they are not. Loneliness is the emptiness we feel when we are disconnected from ourselves. when we seek meaning outside of ourselves and fail to find it. Solitude, on the other hand, is fullness. It is a state of being whole within ourselves, of not needing external validation to know that we are enough. The difference between the two is not whether you are alone, but how you experience it. The irony is that when you embrace solitude, when you no longer fear being alone, you actually become more magnetic to the right people. Those who truly value you, who see you for who you are drawn to your self-assurance, to your quiet strength. Because when you no longer chase validation, you attract authenticity. When you no longer cling to those who do not value you, you make space for those who do. And in that space, real connection is born, not from desperation, not from fear, but from genuine resonance. The greatest act of self-love is to refuse to settle for relationships, friendships, and environments that diminish you, to recognize that standing alone is not an act of isolation, but an act of self-honor. And once you realize this, you will never again fear the idea of walking alone, because you will know that in your solitude you are not lacking, you are whole. When you constantly seek the approval of others, you become a prisoner to their perceptions, losing sight of your own worth. From the time we are young, we are taught to measure ourselves by how others see us, whether we are liked, whether we are accepted, whether we fit into the mold that society has laid out for us. And so we spend our lives chasing validation, trying to prove that we are worthy of love, of attention, of belonging. But in doing so, we forget one crucial truth. We are already enough. The need for validation is a trap, an endless cycle of searching for something outside ourselves that can only ever be found within. Because no matter how much approval you receive, it will never be enough if you do not first approve of yourself. And worse, when you rely on others to determine your worth, you give them the power to take it away. One moment you feel valued, important, seen. The next you are questioning everything, wondering if you have done something wrong, if you need to change, if you need to become someone else just to be accepted again. But this is not freedom. This is not love. It is dependence, an exhausting performance where you mold yourself into what others want, never realizing that in doing so you are betraying yourself. And the truth is, no matter how much you try to please people, some will still not value you, some will still treat you as an afterthought, some will still overlook your kindness, your presence, your efforts, not because you are not enough, but because they are unable or unwilling to see your worth. And so, the question is this: how much of yourself are you willing to lose just to be accepted by people who do not truly care? How much of your energy, your peace, your happiness will you sacrifice at the altar of approval? Because the more you seek validation, the further you stray from your true self. You become a reflection of others' expectations rather than an expression of your own truth. Real freedom begins the moment you stop chasing approval and start standing in your own worth. The moment you decide that you do not need to convince anyone of your value, you become untouchable. You no longer shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to win over people who would not do the same for you. You simply exist as you are, fully, unapologetically, powerfully. This does not mean you must isolate yourself. It does not mean you should reject love or connection, but it does mean that you should only welcome what is genuine, what is reciprocal, what does not require you to prove that you are worthy. Because the right people will not need convincing. The right people will see you, appreciate you, value you, not for what you can do for them, not for how well you fit into their expectations, but simply for who you are. And the irony is, the moment you stop needing approval, the moment you no longer seek validation, that is when you become the most magnetic. That is when people are drawn to you, not because you are chasing them, but because you are radiating something rare: self-assurance, inner peace, a deep knowing that you are enough as you are. So do not let your worth be something that wavers with the opinions of others. Do not let the fear of rejection keep you bound to places where you are not valued. Let go of the need to be liked, and instead focus on being true to yourself. Because the moment you stop seeking validation is the moment you truly begin to live. When you embrace your own path without needing validation, you attract people who genuinely resonate with your spirit, rather than those who merely tolerate your presence. There is something incredibly freeing about no longer seeking permission to be yourself, no longer adjusting your light to make others comfortable. It is in this freedom that you find your true place in the world, not by forcing yourself into spaces that do not welcome you, but by allowing yourself to be exactly who you are and letting the right people find you. Most people spend their lives trying to fit in, fearing that if they stand apart they will be alone. But fitting in at the cost of your authenticity is the greatest loneliness of all. When you surround yourself with people who do not truly value you, you are not in good company. You are merely keeping yourself distracted from the truth that you deserve better. And the longer you stay in places where you are not celebrated, the more you convince yourself that this is all there is, that maybe you are asking for too much. But you are not asking for too much. You are asking for what is real. And what is real will never require you to pretend, to shrink, to prove yourself over and over again just to earn a place at the table. When you choose to stand alone rather than compromise your worth, you do not lose people who truly cared. You only lose the illusion that they ever did. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. You begin to attract those who see you for who you are, not for what you can offer them, not for how much you accommodate them, but simply because they recognize something in you that resonates with their own truth. These are the people who appreciate your presence, not just because it is convenient for them, but because they genuinely value the energy you bring into their lives. They do not require you to perform, to entertain, to constantly prove your importance. They are simply grateful to know you, just as you are grateful to know them. But you will never find these people if you are too afraid to walk away from those who do not see you. You will never create space for real connections if you are too busy holding on to ones that drain you. Letting go is not a loss, it is an invitation. An invitation for something better, something deeper, something that aligns with your soul, rather than forces you to compromise it. It takes courage to stand in your own truth, to say, I would rather walk alone than be surrounded by those who do not value me. It takes strength to trust that when you let go of what is not meant for you, something better will take its place. But this is the path to freedom. This is the path to a life that is not built on fear, but on authenticity. Because in the end, it is not the number of people around you that determines your worth. It is not their approval, their attention, or their validation that gives you meaning. Your worth has always been within you, waiting to be claimed. And the moment you choose yourself, the moment you decide that you would rather be alone than in the wrong company, you send a powerful message to the universe. I am enough as I am, and I will not settle for less than I deserve. And in that moment, you are never truly alone, because the people who are meant for you, the ones who truly see you, will find you. And more importantly, you will have found yourself.